It's a fine-looking bird, isn't it? He's probably thinking he's going to end up on somebody's table. Well, I'm happy to report that he and Fryer both have many tomorrows ahead of them. This morning, I'm grateful I am granting a full presidential pardon so they can live out their lives as safe as can be.
It's Wednesday, November 27th. I'm Julie Pace, Washington Bureau Chief for the Associated Press. And this is a special Thanksgiving edition of Ground Game. Thanksgiving is a time for family, friends, football, and of course, the presidential turkey pardon.
Thanksgiving is a family holiday as much as a national one. So for the past 7 years, I've established another tradition, embarrassing my daughters with a cornucopia of dad jokes about turkeys. Malia and Sasha, by the way, are thankful that this is my final presidential turkey pardon. What I haven't told them yet is that we are going to do this every year from now on.
It's an Only in Washington event where we ask our nation's leaders to administer justice to a pair of live birds. We have all of your breaking turkey pardon news on Ground Game. Washington is full of quirky traditions, but none is quirkier than the annual White House Turkey Pardon, one of my favorite events of the year. And I have covered several turkey pardons in my day, as has my first guest, Darlene Superville, AP White House reporter. Darlene, thanks so much for being with us.
Hi, Julie.
So, Darlene, we covered the White House together for a lot of years, including several turkey pardons. I hope that you enjoy the turkey pardon as much as I do, because I'm going to make you tell us all about it right now. Just for our listeners who maybe haven't witnessed this spectacle, give us a sense of what this is all about.
I think spectacle is a right word to describe it. When you think of the President of the United States and all the sort of weighty issues that they have to deal with every single day of every single week, then you get to Thanksgiving and there's this annual tradition of pardoning the turkey. You know, turkeys have been gifted to presidents going way back in history. It became a tradition to pardon the turkey with George H.W. Bush back in 1989. It usually happens in the Rose Garden. There's assembled guests who are, seated there and waiting. The turkey, usually a very big turkey, 30 pounds, 35 pounds, 40 pounds, big-breasted turkeys with feathers and that little red gluggly neck, is on a table in the Rose Garden. The president will come out, usually accompanied by the First Lady or their children if they have children living with them in the White House. And then there's a little ceremony, some remarks, and then the president will pardon the turkey. Now, one of the interesting things, of course, is that the turkeys were never going to be killed anyway. This is all kind of for show. A lot of presidents use the moment to be a little bit lighthearted. The speeches that they make are usually quite funny. It's one of the rare moments when you can, when a president will peel back the curtain and show you his sense of humor. I covered Obama with you, and now I'm covering President Trump. Obama was very masterful at turning this into a very humorful event. And President Trump also last year was quite funny when it was his turn to pardon a turkey.
So the White House is a place with a lot of protocol, and events are very carefully staged. And then we get to the turkey pardon, and you have 2 live turkeys as participants. The turkeys don't always behave, do they?
No, they don't always behave. I think there was one year, one of the Obama years, when one of the turkeys either tried to peck the president or tried to peck one of the girls. Obama had sort of kind of encouraged the girls to go approach the turkey, and they were like, not going to do it. And the turkey made some sort of sudden movement. But they don't always behave. That's true.
It's always a bit of a wild card with the turkeys. So you mentioned the Obama years. The Obama daughters, Malia and Sasha, became sort of fascinating participants in this annual tradition. We, of course, watched the Obama girls really grow up in the White House. And this is one of those, kind of rare moments where we got to see them in front of the cameras. Tell us a little bit about how Malia and Sasha took to being in the turkey pardon spotlight.
Yeah, it was funny watching them over the years. They were 7 and 10 years old. Malia was 10 years old. Sasha was 7 when they came to the White House. And we watched them grow up there. And every year, every turkey pardon ceremony, President Obama would show up with the girls at his side. And I think when they were younger, it was kind of amusing to them, to come out and actually see these live birds, sitting out there on the table in the rose garden and having to listen to their dad make these jokes. But by the end of his 8 years in office, I don't even think they showed up for the very last one.
They skipped the last one, right?
I think they skipped the last one. And then there was one ceremony before that where they looked so, just the expressions on their faces said it all. They looked incredibly bored. They looked like they wanted to be any place but in the rose garden with their dad with 2 live turkeys.
And Obama would make these really corny dad jokes throughout the whole turkey pardon, too.
He made a lot of corny dad jokes, and he made a lot of other similarly corny jokes as well. But if you're going to make corny jokes, the turkey pardon ceremony is the place to do it.
Absolutely true. So we're obviously making light of the turkey pardon. It is, as we mentioned, one of those quirky White House traditions. But I think the other thing that is notable about it is it's sort of a throwback in a way to sort of simpler time in our country and the role that a president played, which is, just as that sort of leading figure who can have these types of events going into a holiday. It's very nonpartisan. Do you think that there is still a role for the turkey pardon in this really heated political climate that we live in now?
Yeah, I do. And I think just because the climate is so heated, everyone is so divided, the country is so polarized, Washington is so polarized. So here you have this one event where, like you say, people can come together. It's generally nonpartisan. It's just a funny kind of thing. And it's tradition. It's been going on since at least 1989 in terms of the formal act of pardoning a turkey. But turkeys have been coming to the White House for decades. A little bit of humor. And then at some point, the president always kind of gets a little bit more serious in his remarks and talks about things that Americans should be thankful for and wishes everyone a happy holiday, a happy Thanksgiving. And that's how the ceremony ends.
It's a really fun tradition. Darlene Superville, White House reporter for the AP, thank you so much for giving us a peek behind the curtain, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
You're welcome. Happy Thanksgiving.
It may be hard to believe, but there is still so much more to know about the turkey pardon and how the White House pulls it off, including where those birds stay in the lap of luxury before they head to the president. For a turkey, there's no greater honor than being pardoned by the president. And there are plenty of other perks, too, including a stay at a luxury hotel that's hosted presidents and world leaders for decades. That's right, the turkeys stay at a hotel. To fill us in on what that is all about, I am joined by Janet Scanlon. She's Senior Marketing Manager for the Willard InterContinental Hotel right across the street from the White House in downtown D.C. Janet, thanks so much for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
So, Janet, this has always been one of those things, as I've covered the turkey pardon, that has just fascinated me, that not only are these turkeys pardoned by the President of the United States, but they are held at a luxury hotel before the big event. You work at this hotel. You have been through this really quirky tradition. What is it like when November rolls around and you guys start getting ready for the turkey pardon?
Oh my goodness. It's a tradition unlike any other, but I feel like it's so befitting of the most famous turkeys in America. So once the White House announces that the presentation, because I know that they've changed the language, so it's more of a presentation to the president. When it's announced that the turkeys will be presented, we kind of get all of our gears rolling, and we have a fabulous relationship with the National Turkey Federation because it is through them they continue to bring this tradition back to the hotel, which has been taking place for about over a decade now. So it's definitely something that every year it evolves. We do something a little bit different. Last year we rolled out the red carpet upon their arrival, which was really fun. So a lot of guests checking in. I think we're quite excited.
Literally, you rolled out the red carpet?
We literally rolled out a red carpet right in our very famous lobby, and the turkeys, were brought out from their their little crates, and they walked the red carpet up to the front desk where our general manager gave them their room keys. And then they had a little bit of a photo op. And of course, it's not something that I would say is publicized that they are here checking in, but it was really exciting to see how many people actually came into the hotel to witness them checking in. And
what are people doing when these turkeys parade through the lobby of this hotel?
It's interesting because, I feel like Washington, D.C. is so big with business travel. So I think for a lot of business travelers, it comes as a little bit of a surprise to see that they're checking in next to some poultry. But, I think they're equally excited. You see the presentation on TV and all the news clips, but to actually be in their presence is a little bit of a different situation. I mean, the first year that I was here, I didn't really know much about the turkeys, but, they're raised around a lot of noise, a lot of people, cameras flashing, music, so they don't seem to be too disturbed by the crowd, which kind of makes it even more exciting because they'll just stand there, and it makes for a really good Instagram post, I suppose.
That is so hilarious. Okay, so now I'm the turkey. I've got my room key. Where do I go from there?
So they get a regular room here at the Willard. What happens is they check into their room, and prior to their arrival, our staff and the staff of the National Turkey Federation actually, it's probably not a word, but I'm going to make it a word, is we turkey-proof, turkify the room, but we turkey-proof the room to make sure that, no damage is done. So what they do is they lay out this giant plastic tarp, if you will. So it covers a large portion of the floor, and then it goes up a little bit, basically the height of the turkey, so up the wall, to kind of make sure that the wallpaper in the room isn't damaged. And then they put down some wood chipping, so very similar to like a hamster home. And then they have their little water bowl in their food bowl. So they check in and, like any traveler, they decompress, they de-stress, the TV's on. Sometimes the Turkey Federation will say that they've been raised around a certain love of music. So maybe music will be playing. And for the first hour or so, I think it's really the Turkey Federation, their handlers, they're just getting them settled. And then the White House digital team usually comes over and grabs some footage, before they get tied up in talking to, all the media that's interested in seeing them before they get presented. So that's sort of a little bit about that first day.
And how long are the turkeys with you at the hotel?
Typically they arrive about a day and a half before the presentation. So they'll be with us on Monday, and then they'll be presented to the president, and then they will depart for their new home, which is at Gobbler's Rest at Virginia Tech. It's part of their agricultural and life sciences program. So they will be driven down to Blacksburg, where that will be their new home. So they're not with us for very long, but it's a really fun tradition. That Monday they have a press conference, so they're treated very much like rock stars. They get the very rock star treatment. It's quite interesting to see all of the media that come, both U.S. media but international, to get their photos and video, and you get to hear a little bit about how they were raised and who they were raised by, because that changes every year. So it's always kind of interesting from my perspective to see a little bit more of that story than just them arriving at the hotel.
I love it. It's such a great tradition. So we were talking with Darlene Superville, White House reporter for the AP, in our earlier segment. She's covered a bunch of these events at the White House too. And we were talking about how once the turkeys get to the White House, it's a little bit of a roll of the dice on how well behaved they're going to be when they're with the president. How are they at the hotel though? I feel like that is kind of a high stakes moment for them. Are they pretty well behaved in the room?
So it's interesting because of course, naturally with what I do here at the hotel, I of course am always a little bit nosy, and I come up and I check on the turkeys throughout their stay. But they seem to be pretty low key. It depends year after year, but for the most part, I think just based on how they're raised, the turkey farmer knows that these turkeys are being raised to be presented to the president. So they have people around them at all hours kind of, to make sure that they're comfortable with people around, that they're not going to freak out if there's a large lens camera in their face, the noise. So for us here at the Willard, they're usually pretty calm. Last year, we actually introduced a little bit of an informal meet and greet in the lobby on that Monday, where guests, and it seemed like last year a lot of local businesses around the area, their little offices, they took about a 3 p.m. break to come see the turkeys in the lobby, and they just kind of stand there. So they're pretty well behaved. I know I've seen it on TV where they kind of have a little bit of a diva moment, but that's expected. But I think that that's why there's two of them. My understanding is the turkey that's being presented isn't really decided until, not too long before the presentation actually occurs.
Oh, interesting. That's good insight. So maybe they decide based on which turkey is the most well-behaved in the moment?
I believe so. I could be wrong on that, but I believe so. And I think that's why there's always there's always the national Thanksgiving turkey and then the backup, the spare heir, I guess you could say.
So great. Janet Scanlon, she's the senior marketing manager for the Willard InterContinental Hotel in Washington, which hosts the two turkeys that will be presented to the president on Thanksgiving. Janet, thank you so much. This has been so much fun and such great behind the scenes info on the turkeys that are selected.
Absolutely. I mean, come on. It's it's such a fun tradition.
I love it. Janet, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
That's it for this week's Ground Game from the Associated Press. We'll be here every Wednesday for the latest political news from the Beltway and beyond. Be sure to tell a friend about us, and please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening. From the Westwood One Podcast Network.